Coming up, drama at the Ontario Cup,
OUA Soccer action,
and the 30th annual Terry Fox Run Centennial Sports TV starts now. Welcome to Centennial Sports TV. I'm Josh Lewinberg, and for your convenience, he's Josh Craig.
Thank you very much, sir. You know, I'm worried that this might be confusing, this whole Josh Squared thing we've got going on here. I hope we don't end up tearing the fabric of space.
I'm hoping they can handle it. For the third year running, we will be bringing you the ins and outs of local sports from East York and beyond.
You know, and I couldn't think of a co-host I'd rather brave my first on-camera appearance with, Josh.
Well, thank you.
We begin tonight with a look at the 2011 Ontario Cup Soccer Finals, which saw the East York Dragons take on the Whitby Iroquois in under-16 boys action. Early on, the East York defender takes down O'Neill Mars inside the box, awarding the Iroquois a penalty kick. Cody J. Kramer, going low and just to the left, squeaks it under goaltender Nicholas Poliani, giving Whitby the early lead by 1. East York would have its chance to respond as Mavladim Birslanov chips the ball clear over the Iroquois defense, only to be stoned by Michael Ashfield. Moments later, in the 75th, Birslanov once again lets loose on the Whitby net, and this time redemption. York tying the score, putting the game back on an even keel. And then, the Iroquois Dragons take a run to their own end, with Joshua Trentadue sealing the deal. Whitby leads 2-1. And they can taste that victory lying just on the other side of injury time. Not quite ready to pack it in, East York makes a final brilliant attempt on the Whitby net, but Michael Ashfield will have none of it. The Whitby Iroquois take the 2011 Ontario Cup Tier 2 final with a score of 2-1. With a superb run this year, the Dragons' second-place finish is no doubt bittersweet.
Sticking in East York, the Goliaths are accustomed to being a local powerhouse. However, this time around, they'll enter the season as an underdog. Lauren Millet has more.
Thanks, Josh. Football at East York Collegiate has been a dynasty for the last several decades. However, last year, East York was knocked out of the quarterfinal playoffs by Lawrence Park after a rare 1-0 scoreline. Lawrence Park scored the final rouge with the last drive of the game. This season, East York faces the harsh reality of coming in as the underdogs after the Leaside Lancers topped the South Division last season.
Head coach Glenn Edwards has been at East York for almost 8 years now and was part of the reason the program was brought back to life after having been scrapped for a few years due to a lack of volunteers.
I've always considered this division that we're in to be the top division. Central Tech, Northern, Leaside. It's a tough division. It's a very physical division and a very tough division. Good, excellent schools that have won the Torontos in the past.
After last year's quarterfinal loss to Lawrence Park, Edwards spent the offseason reevaluating the team and what tactical changes needed to be made.
Well, I think there was a lot of learning that went on with that. There was a lot of individuals that last year was a difficult year for us. Sometimes players, coaches, teams come out, but they don't work out. And some of the players were maybe taking it as long as I have my equipment on, I can manage to do what I need to do. And it doesn't take that. You have to do the practice. You have to put in your due diligence and your time to be good.
Apart from attitude, Edwards is also putting a lot more emphasis on defensive techniques.
Last year we didn't do as much tackling in practice, so this year it's going to be a main focus. Just making sure we have the right form and everything for in-games.
East York will play their annual Friday Night Lights game on October 7th against rivals Leaside and are looking to avenge last season's 0-1 record against the Lancers.
I've grown up not liking Leaside. My dad's lived in East York. He's had his rival with Leaside too. Also Northern, we have a good rival with them, even though we haven't been playing good against them in the past couple of years.
After dropping the championship game 16-14 to Richview Collegiate, the Leaside Lancers will once again be gunning for the top spot in the South Division. However, with games against Northern Secondary School, Lawrence Park, and Central Tech, there promises to be no easy times in the division this season. Reporting for Centennial Sports TV, I'm Lauren Millet.
A few weeks ago, Ontario college students began their school year in the midst of a support staff strike, creating a back-to-school environment that was anything but run-of-the-mill. With picket lines to cross and familiar faces missing, students soon adjusted to the absence of services many had taken for granted. Intercollegiate sport was effectively stopped as a result of the strike, leaving athletes and fans alike to sit on the bench. The light at the end of the tunnel? A tentative agreement has been reached between the union representing the support staff and the College Employer Council. With few details being released, this step in the right direction is a good indication that we can expect the return of the Centennial Colts sooner rather than later.
Back to soccer now. The Guelph Gryphons march into the Lions' Den Saturday, hoping to make a statement against the defending champs from York. We'll pick this one up midway through the first half. York trailing 1-0. Alon Badet tries to put the Lions on the board. He does not, and we move along. Here's the free kick. Defender makes a heady play, and I make a bad pun. The Lions are still scoreless until the dying moments of the first half. This time the striker Badet splits the defenders, and into the net. We're tied up. Heading into the break. Fast forward to crunch time, and Rob Murphy is hoping to be the hero for Guelph. But alas, the show was stolen by York late in the game. The reigning MVP, Adrian Pena, wins it for the home team. The Lions remain undefeated at 5-0-1, but their leader remains focused.
They came out with a game plan that we weren't really expecting. So, they were man-marking our holding mid, which is something that we don't really get. So, it took us a bit to adjust. They punished us on a counterattack. Actually, we spoke about defending the counterattack in the pregame, but we didn't do a good job of it, and their strikers are great players, so he punished us.
We just weren't tuned in. We talked about the only dangers that they had. We're in transition, and the Rob Murphy kid is a quality player, and we had to cover our spaces when we're attacking, and we didn't, and they scored, and that's what happened. And I think we were our toughest competition today. It's important for us to get better every game, and most part of it is getting results.
Basic, everyday movements are things most of us take for granted. But for a child with special needs, they are a critical component of a healthy and well-adjusted lifestyle. With this in mind, last weekend I had the opportunity to meet some incredible people at the East York Gymnastics Club. The word gymnastics often evokes images of handsprings, cartwheels, and flips. These grand spectacles frequently overshadow the strikingly practical array of motor skills it can help a person develop and hone.
When they come to do motor movement in gymnastics, they're not trying to win the Olympics. They're not trying to be in anybody's way, but the benefit they get from it was way more than I ever even imagined. You can get strength, flexibility, balance, coordination, timing. For kids with sensory issues, just being in the environment, even if they have a bad day, is a good day.
Rochelle Hosten of East York Gymnastics Club began coaching children with disabilities almost 20 years ago, and now has a full roster of kids who live with different conditions, such as cerebral palsy, autism, and Down syndrome.
She's got a great way with children, and she understands how to approach them. She just knows how to push them enough to see some results.
Parents were telling me, oh, their speech and language is improving from climbing and gripping the bars. They can now hold a pencil.
According to their parents, the changes in these children has been significant.
She's more confident. She's not walking too much on her toes. And she's just extremely happy.
He's right side hemiplegia, and his right limbs are looser after he's done with gymnastics. Definitely big improvement after gymnastics. And his confidence and his strength is improved.
Skill by skill, if you start skill building, no matter what age the kid, if you don't give up and keep practicing, they learn the skills. So that's one of the things I do. I don't put a timeline on them. I just encourage, expose, repeat, and eventually there is some progress. I've never seen one case where there's not some progress.
Unfortunately for these families, finding a suitable activity for their child has presented some challenges in the past.
There may be outlets available. I just wish people knew about them.
There are all kinds of loopholes about how you can actually get your kid into a program. Things like, oh, well, the doctor has to come on site and assess them, and then they will be insured. So little things like this have been setbacks and roadblocks, and you always have to fight to get a place for a kid. These kids have challenging lives anyhow.
In a world filled with barriers, these families are used to being overlooked. But with the continuing efforts of people like Rochelle Hosten, the physical and mental benefits of play are well within the reach of these kids. Their smiles say it all. Coming up, we'll take a preview of the Danforth Collegiate football season and take a look at the 30th annual Terry Fox Run.
But first, we're going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. get enough sports?
Why not make it a career?
The sports journalism program at Centennial College gives you the foundation to work at a job you'll actually enjoy.
Join the list of graduates currently working for the CBC,
Rogers Sportsnet,
The Score,
ESPN,
The National Post, and many more.
Register today.
Welcome back, folks. I'm glad to see you back with us. And to be honest, Mr. Lundberg, I'm glad to see you here. You stuck it through the whole commercial break with me.
I actually had a great time.
Well, take it away.
The Canadian rugby team continued their quest at the World Cup on Sunday. After their opening win against Tonga, Canada was outmatched by France, losing 46-19. Now Canada needs to win their next 2 games against Japan and the host New Zealand team in order to make it through to the round robin. Are they in over their heads? Well, the opening round victory was their first World Cup win since '99, and they've never advanced to the quarterfinals. Their journey continues Monday night as they take on Japan. Catch the game at 11 p.m. Eastern Time.
Shifting gears now, we move to an inspiring story that puts the healing powers of sport sharply into focus. A local baseball phenom has fought his way back into the ranks of the University of Toronto's varsity blue baseball team.
In 2010, starting center fielder and leadoff hitter Jonathan Isaacs had a season to remember.
We made a push to kind of get into second place. There was also, a little bit after the season, I got a call from the coaches and I got selected to play in the OUA All-Star Showcase, and that was a really nice addition to the season.
After a year where he led his team in hits and stolen bases, Isaacs was looking forward to improving his 2011 season before fate had other ideas.
I was ready for summer of baseball and kind of getting into gear. It was just a couple days after my last exam. I was riding on my bike, my bicycle, and it was kind of a freak accident. I went over the handlebars. Next thing I know, I wake up, I'm on my back. Paramedics are all around me.
Isaacs would suffer a severe laceration above his eye, a shattered cheekbone that would require reconstructive surgery, and a major concussion which is still keeping him out of the game he loves.
Every athlete that suffers concussion goes through a necessary test, and if they don't pass, then we go back to basically sitting and waiting.
And I didn't realize that the injuries would be lasting so long into the fall season now. So he's still coming out and helping out with the team, but he can't really be as active as he usually is.
As he recovers, Isaacs has channeled his energy into helping out his team in another way this year, with his new role as an assistant coach.
Well, it's been unbelievable because he's been at all the tryouts, the practices, the games. So he continues to be a leader with the team and to really have an impact in terms of helping motivate players, give advice, technical advice, baseball advice to the players, and also his interaction with the coaching staff has been very helpful.
As helpful as he's been in his coaching role, his contributions on the field is what his team misses the most.
He was our leadoff hitter, so it's really big to lose your leadoff hitter at the beginning of the season. And actually, we've been juggling around who to fill into that spot.
He really led the offense and gave the tone to the game as soon as we went to bat. He was also a leader on the field. We really had to rethink both our offense and defense in terms of who would play this very important leadoff role at bat, and also who would cover this huge hole in center field.
With the injury robbing Jonathan of his summer and delaying his varsity career, the talented student athlete is eyeing a late season return for the playoffs and expects to come back better than ever.
So a lot of it is building that confidence, building that strength, emotionally, physically, and you should do well in your future.
I just miss the competition, being out there, giving your all and, going out there and competing.
While Jonathan's return date is unknown, his presence with the Varsity Blues will always be certain.
Certainly a compelling story, and everyone here at Centennial Sports TV wishes Mr. Isaac a fast and successful recovery. Moving on, the Danforth Collegiate football team has a title to defend. But with their season approaching, their roster looks a little different than it did last year. With more, here's Janis Bunkis. JDB?
I'm here at Danforth Collegiate, where Coach McLeod is putting his players through the paces and getting them ready to defend their Tier 2 championship. Now, with a lot of seniors leaving this year, a lot of fresh faces have had to step up and fill new roles. I caught up with them to see what they got up to this offseason and how they're going to get ready for next year's games.
Yeah, we lost a lot of guys from last year's team, so a lot of our seniors are gone. But basically, we're just looking for guys to step up and show some leadership and just bring some of the spirit from last year back to this year's team.
With such a low number of returning players from last year's championship squad, the pressure is on vets like Rob Cofield to mentor an inexperienced new group of players.
You have to watch all these guys, make sure they're running with you. You got to make them go. You just got to make sure everyone's up and ready to go. These kids are great. They work really hard. Every single time, first day, I had to push 3 kids around the field. Now I see them running up ahead of the pack.
Despite the Redhawks' lack of veterans, the new openings on the team offer an exciting opportunity for first-time players to strut their stuff.
Oh, I'm happy. I'm excited because, first year playing, I'm here to bring it.
And while youthful exuberance is appreciated, this week is all about getting down to the basics.
This is just a supplement to what guys have done in the summer. Hopefully guys who were active in the summer and got themselves into relatively good shape. And this is just fine-tuning the basics.
Luckily for Coach, he seems to have a group of athletes.
In the off-season, I like to wakeboard and ski. Snowboarding is one of my passions.
With the championship in the rear view, what does Coach McLeod expect from this year's group of fresh-faced athletes?
We're just looking at being consistent, and in football, most consistent teams win. So I think it's the league is strong this year, so I think it's wide open. It comes down to who makes the least mistakes.
From Centennial Sports TV, I'm Janis Bunkis.
Cancer is something that has touched far too many lives. I myself never had the opportunity to meet my grandfather as he succumbed to lung cancer before I was born. The Terry Fox Run is an annual event that brings hope to all of those affected. And here's a look at this year's event at Wilket Creek Park.
The Terry Fox Run takes place annually as a fundraiser for cancer research. The Wilket Creek Park contingent of the event is one of the largest in Ontario, having raised $8.1 million.
I think the thing about Terry Fox Run is that it's steady. Every year, everybody remembers what he did back in 1980, and I don't think that that's going to change. What I do think is going to change is we're going to continue to make significant progress in cancer research.
An inspiring man, Terry Fox's Marathon of Hope touched many people across the country, including lovable Len Wax.
He saw Terry Fox run into City Hall, and there for the grace of God went he. He was diagnosed 5 years later with prostate. And it was just something we did. I've been doing this for 15 years, but my husband did it for 30 years, and now we're doing it in his memory.
With so many reasons to participate in the event, some sort of inspiration seems to be the main factor.
Basically, what got me involved in this is I was watching the Terry Fox movie, and I saw what one individual can do on one leg. We're into fitness, martial arts. It's right up our alley. It's something that we want to do. We challenge ourselves by doing the walk, the run, and at the same time we raise money for a good cause. So I think it works for both of us.
It's not just groups like Twin Dragon that take part. With plenty to do for the whole family, it's truly an event for all ages. Even our four-legged friends are doing their part to find a cure. After all, it's families which hurt most as a result of this horrible disease.
I've had family members that have passed away from it. I have my sister that's right here written on my chest, a few friends that are on my shirt, and I saw what they went through, I saw the suffering, and hopefully one day people won't have to go through that.
It is thought that about 75,000 deaths will be as a result of cancer in 2011. Though efforts are being made daily, over 4,000 people are doing their part at the park today. Alex Terry, Centennial Sports TV.
Well, folks, that's all the time we have for today, and I have to say, Josh, it was a pleasure sharing co-hosting duties with you.
See you next week. Don't forget to tune in.